Hey everybody, welcome back to Recordology. Okay, today we're going to talk about platter mats. Now we've done some semi-scientific, not so scientific audio tests of different platter mat materials. Can you hear a difference? What do you prefer? And I'm not going to do that today. What I really just want to do today is just talk about some of the ones that I've chosen, the ones that I have, and why I like them, and why you might want to consider them as well. So this, for those of you that don't know, this is a platter. So this is the thing that the record sits on, but most of the time they aren't designed to have the record sit on them directly without something in between, and that's what a platter mat is, or a slip mat. I call it a platter mat. It's funny, while I'm thinking of it, we were doing the show about platters. I think it was about platters or something about it, about these mechanisms on these. This is the same core mechanism that's in like an LP60X and Iowa's from the 90s. It's been around for 25 years at least. Anyway, I was perplexed as to why there was a hole on both sides, both here and there. And somebody said it's because of the weight distribution. You can't, if you had one hole on one side and not on the other, then it wouldn't be balanced. So that makes complete sense. Now, like I said, most platters do require a platter mat. If you have a clear acrylic one, like on a U-turn, you don't need a platter mat, because acrylic in and of itself is a great platter mat material. You can, if you wanted to add a different kind, if your ears, could perceive the difference that you wanted to obtain, you could do that. The LP7 is another material. It's a synthetic, very, very heavy. It's essentially a plastic, but it's as heavy as iron. It's amazing. That one I don't use a platter mat on as either. It doesn't even come with one. Okay, so let's talk about the different ones. The most common that you're going to come across is this guy right here. This is a felt platter mat. Now, let me say this. There is nothing wrong with any of these. None of them are going to damage anything. None of them are going to sound bad. You have to have an eagle ear. Is that a thing? Eagle eye, but eagle ear? You have to have a very good ear to hear the difference. They're not going to sound drastically different. They just aren't. You are getting into the very fine details of tuning sound at this point, in a way. And this is one way that you control what you hear. I mean, you choose your speakers, you choose your turntable, you choose your cartridge, you choose your stylus, and you choose your music. But you can also choose this. That impacts the sound, albeit very, very minutely. So the felt platter mat is very common. It's a soft, flexible material. If you get a really cheap turntable, a lot of times these are rigid, they're thin too. I've had some of these are so hard that they're just like super, super rigid. This is pretty common. This is pretty flexible, pretty soft, and it's a good material. And there's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. I like them fine. That's why I still have it. The one thing that I don't like about felt is if I'm having a bad day and some days you just do stupid stuff. I do anyway. And some days I'll cue up the stylus on the edge of the record, and I won't cue it to the right. I won't go far enough over, and I'll accidentally slip off the edge of the record. And then dragging your needle through this is loud, but also probably not good for the stylus, because this is an open cell structure material. So it's like Velcro, millions of little loops of fabric just grabbing and tugging at your stylus. Probably not something that you want to have happen. So there's the felt. Next up, and again pretty common, is a rubber platter mat. There you go. Now, a platter mat, a slip mat, what does it do? So it's going to do a couple of things. It is going to provide a buffer between the platter and the record. Why do you want a buffer? Well, you really want to be able to isolate the sound from the mechanics of the turntable, because there's a motor in there, there's gears, there's properties of the turntable itself in terms of, the platter is going to have resonance. And then you choose different platter materials as well, but like this is just a hollow plastic platter. There's nothing acoustically beneficial about this. But if you have like an MDF plinth, or you have a wooden, maple one, like some of the fancier ones we reviewed, maybe that is something you want to take into consideration. But if you have a regular turntable, usually you want to, isolate that, because you don't want the needle picking up vibrations from the motor, and then the platter can have a wobble or a rumble as well. So it creates isolation, and rubber is a good isolator because it is pliable, not just bendable, but it actually compresses as well. So it does offer a little bit of protection in that regard. The other thing a platter mat does is it grips. So it allows the record to, grip onto the spinning, rotating thing and give it adhesion so that when the stylus is placed on there, it doesn't just pull the record with it. A good example of that would be a flexi disc. If I put a flexi disc on, and this is a cool record, we're going to review it in the near future, but if I put a flexi disc on something that's very, very light and I drop that needle, it may do, okay, now it's rubber, so this is not a good example, but basically I'll try this on a different material. Rubber is good, is very adhesive. It has a good grip. But if I were to do this on a smoother material with a flexi disc, come on now, I may have an issue where it drags. So having that ability to grip the record is important. Rubber, I think, is a good material. It, it is what it is. I think it's a good hefty material. If you have a platter that's not particularly hefty, this does add some mass inertia. The weight is not going to matter in terms of slowing the record player down. It's not going to impact it like this. This is a fairly thin one. This is a Hudson Hi-Fi. By the way, if you like any of these, if you want any of these, I'm going to put some links in the description below. Here is a super thick rubber platter mat. They are kind of magnets for dust, as you can see. This has been in a sleeve. I actually keep these in cardboard sleeves. I'll show you in a minute. This is the one that comes with the LP3. And it's a thick one. It's a good, thick platter mat, even heavier than the one before. And yeah, so when you buy your LP3, it looks just like that. Why are there these grooves here? Well, I'll show you. So if you happen to be in possession of a 7-inch record, and you've got said record on the turntable like this, and you want to pick it up without digging your fingernails into it like I was doing a minute ago with that flexi disc, this is perfect because it provides a little channel where you can get leverage. That's all it is, which is really, really cool. So that's a rubber platter mat, and yeah, let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear your opinions too about these things, what your experiences are with different materials. Okay, next we have acrylic, which is a type of plastic. This is a colored one. Acrylic can come in any color you can imagine. These neon glow ones from Hudson Hi-Fi are really cool. One of the benefits of, by the way, acrylic, before I forget, it's the same type. It's a very brittle, hard plastic. It's like this. I think those are acrylic as well. It's the same type of plastic that a CD is made out of. So it's not pliable whatsoever. It's rigid. But a lot of people swear by the acoustic properties of an acrylic platter mat. One of the benefits of an acrylic platter mat is it's completely smooth, at least on one side. There's an area there we'll talk about in a second. So that allows you to set your anti-skate. So let's say I wanted to set my anti-skate with this, drop this record, or and people will, debate the merits of this method. I still stand by it. It makes complete sense. Anti-skate is a setting that, without any anti-skate, the tone arm will pull towards the center. This fights that and allows it to ride completely neutral, thereby being dictated in terms of position by the groove itself and not impacted by being pulled to one side or the other, because that could press the stylus up against one groove wall or another and have more sound come from that channel because of that. So let's go ahead and see how ours is set right now. Oh, it's still skating. See how it's going to the middle there? So our anti-skate, we adjust that. It's before it hits that spot. Okay, now it's going into automatic mode. Anyway, these are really good to help set your anti-skate. Sometimes I forget this is an automatic turntable, so it goes into automatic mode and then I have an issue. Okay, let me turn this up. Let's find that beneficial spot. So in this case, to achieve the best anti-skate setting, it's still not perfect. I'm at 4, which it usually mirrors the setting of the weight. So if you have, this is tracking at 2.5 grams, so ideally it would be set at 2.5 grams, but as you can see, it needs a little bit more. So it does, oops, see, that's one of those mistakes I'm talking about where I dropped in the wrong spot. Again, that's up for debate because a lot of people will say, oh no, that's terrible. It doesn't make any sense. That's not how it works. Other people will say, that's fake anti-skate. There's no anti-skate. See, it didn't work. It just depends. It really just depends. So my experience that all of these have active and real anti-skates that do work very well. So this area here is just a little bit inset because a lot of record labels protrude. the hub area, this area of a record, protrudes. So this little cutout allows it to lay completely flat. Do be warned, if you use your platter mat to set anti-skate, they are a little bit scratch sensitive. You can see right there. So the stylus, again, it's a needle, it's a diamond needle, is likely to scratch it. So here is a white acrylic. Again, people say that the bass response on acrylic is a little bit tighter and they like that sound. I love the white on here because it matches the plinth. I just think that looks slick. That's my personal choice right now. I love the look of this turn. I was not thrilled about it being white when I first got it. I thought it would yellow and I thought it would just whatever. It's actually, I've really grown to love the appearance of this turntable. So acrylic is good. One thing I have noticed is sometimes with the acrylic, because there's zero adhesion. So I want to explain, I want to demonstrate real quick what I was talking about earlier. So if you have something on here like a flexi disc, and sometimes it happens with records too. See how just my finger makes a drag? 'Cause there's nothing grippy about it. It's a completely smooth spinning surface. That's spinning right now. So what can that? With these, you're supposed to put like a quarter on it or something like that. But sometimes even with a record, it'll spin a little bit. You know, it'll work ultimately. It doesn't just sit there and spin indefinitely, but you lose a little bit of traction. So this doesn't do anything to separate any motor rumble or anything that's going on acoustically in the chassis or the plinth from the stylus. So every once in a while, I will perceive a little bit of hum, a little bit of if there was platter rumble, it would translate that as well. But I have noticed that before. Next up, we got 2 to go. This is cork. It's actually rubberized cork. So I haven't really used this one a lot, honestly. A couple of times. It's a cork material, but it's rubberized. It's not as heavy. It's definitely lighter than a regular rubber mat, but it's got that cork. It's weird. It's rubberized cork. It's literally cork with bits of rubber in there, so you get kind of both properties. This is going to have a better adhesion. It's going to have a better absorption of vibrations. So that's a choice. A lot of people like these. There are straight cork mats as well. One mat that we're not going to review today, I've never had one, is a leather mat. I think that sounds intriguing, but I haven't had one, so I have no opinion on it. The last mat, and the most bizarre mat I've got, is this guy right here. This is actually carbon fiber. And this is probably the most expensive. I think this is from Crosley. This is close to $100. And it's a slice of carbon fiber. And on the back, it's got some felt. Do I hear a difference? I mean, the idea of saying, I've got a carbon fiber platter mat sounds cool, but do I hear a huge difference? Not really. Also, this kind of psychedelic pattern thing is going to give me a migraine if I have that going on, even for the few seconds that I see it before I put a record on. So that's honestly kind of an issue with me. I think the idea is cool. Carbon fiber is sort of this wonder material. It's lightweight, as carbon fiber is. It's got a very sharp edge. And I don't know what else to say about that. I used it for probably 2 months, and I think it's cool. I don't really have anything to say beyond that. So there you go, guys. That's my opinion of the platter mats that I have. Let me know down in the comments below what kind of platter mat you have, what you recommend. And that's going to do it for today. If you enjoyed this episode, give me a thumbs up. Again, for those of you that have been contributing to my Buy Me a Coffee thing, thank you so very much. I will definitely give you guys... thought about doing shout outs on those as well, but I will definitely respond to you. I need to get caught up on that. I'm also a little behind on comments right now, but I just want to thank you all for your time, for being here. That's the most important thing. Stay safe, God bless, and we will see you tomorrow.